Hello and welcome to another MoTeC webinar. My name is Mike Shield and today I'll be looking into the Display Creator Competition where you can win a C125 race logging kit including Display Creator Enable. Now I'm going to take it for granted that you've looked through our web pages and you've had a look at the downloads, you've downloaded the software and the project that you're going to want to enter. I'm going to do a race-based project today. Here are the channels that I'm going to have to include, and they'll already be in the template. So let's launch the template. I've already installed the software. So here we go. Basically what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put a central dial with a few other things around it, and that will form the basis of my submission. Okay, so to start off with, I pick a dial and just click. That'll automatically give it a size of 400 by 400, which I'm happy with. I'm going to go with 8 divisions, going from 0 up to 8,000 RPM. I don't want it to have the same values. I want it to be from 0 to 8. So basically the tick value will be 8,000, whereas my label will have an 8. I'm happy with the 4 minor divisions. So I've got my basic dial. Now I need to tell this dial, by clicking on the pointer, I need to tell the dial what channel it's reporting. I also want to up the width of that just to make it a little bit more visible. And now I want to do some embellishments. So I know I've got a 400 dial, so I'm going to go with like a 435 circle to give it like a bezel around the outside. I don't want a border on it. Go horizontal reflection, sort of a charcoal through to a grey. There's my circle. I can copy, paste that. Change the second one to 410 by 410. So I'm just going to do a quick build here today and simulate the program. So that's a vertical shade. I might actually make that vertical reflection. Copy that. I want to do another circle which would be sort of going up to where the tick marks are. I'm going to make that a radial, and I'm going to make it go from black, and I'll put a border shadow on that one, sort of a charcoal. Okay, and actually I want to make that say 380 by 380. One more, copy that, paste, and I'll make this one 270 by 270. Radial, black through to red. Now I want this one to be semi-transparent. This is going to be a bit like a perspex layer just over the needle area, and I don't want a border on that, so I can click on the first one, shift click on the last one, alignment vertical center, alignment horizontal center. I'm going to take my display and push it to the top so I can see my tick marks. There's my basic look dial. Okay, so I've got all of that. What do I want to do to it now? Okay, click on my dial, right click, insert a sweep. I want a red line that runs from say 6,000 to 8,000. Now I want it to be over this little rim here, which is part of that circle, which I know is 380. So its radius is 190, and I made the border on that was 3, so that'll sit on there nicely. Now I also want to change the size of the font, so I'm just control clicking on each of these, and I'm going to change that up to 32 point. There, I've got my basic look dial. So shift click the last one, right click, grouping, create a group, dial. Now I can move that all around as one object, which is nice, makes things easy. Okay, now that I've got my dial, I want to put a background in. So I can click on New Image, and that'll automatically bring me to this folder, which is part of the software. Open that, open background. I'm going to choose background 3. Okay, click on the screen anywhere and then fit to page. I'll put that behind my dial, but seeing as it's black graphic on black background, you really don't see the mesh. So if I click on page here, I'm just going to change its colour to more of a grey. Getting happy with that, but I want to go from dark down to light here to show a light. So draw a rectangle on there, take its border off and stretch it to fit the page. I've got vertical shade already. I'm going to choose from black to black, but with a 100% opacity. Solid up here, I probably make that not quite as solid so I can still see some of the form. That's good, and I just want to push it below my dial. Then I can click the first one, shift, click, right click, grouping, create a group, background. Okay, so now I've got my dial and my background. Next I'm going to want to panel across the bottom here, and that can be for my lap time. So basically just draw a rectangle again, turn the border off, tell it to fill the screen, then pull it down. Tell this I want that to be sort of dark and that to be basically black. First one a bit darker. That's kind of where I want it to be, except I'd like to have a bit of a chrome edge to it. So I'm going to say copy to that and paste. Pull this up from the base. Go from vertical shade to horizontal reflection. Put some bright bits. Now you can see here I've got bright to dark. I can toggle this to see which way I want to see that. I like it that way. Okay, I'm happy with that. Maybe not so dark. There. Now what I want to do is have some shading here to give that a bit more form. So I'm just going to copy, paste, move that up to there. And set this to black, set this to black. Now you can see here I've got my shading around the wrong way, but that's easily toggled. And just pull some of that opacity down so it's not 100% at the bottom. And I'm going to go for a shadow about that size. Alright, so now I've got my panel. And just shift click, group, create a group, panel. Alright, now I need to have a channel. Let's put a channel on here. Create a channel about there. Make it 100. Say 120. I'm going to go like that. Now the important thing is to assign the channel. I'm going to go for lap time, minutes and seconds with 2 decimal places. Now let's just position that. That feels about right. And then I want to put a label on. Let's go over here, type in lap time, say 24 point, bold, and I'm just going to pull the opacity down. There you go. So now I've got my lap time and I've got my dial. I'm going to copy this and paste it. Just want to change this to RPM and put that in the middle. Control C, Control V to duplicate it. Put the duplicate further down and just put by 1,000. Just make that 18 point. Okay, a bit of space would be nice. There you go. So I've got my dial. Next I want to put a gear. Let's go with that. Center. I'm going to go with an Arial black, which is still a ticked font. I'm going to go 160 point. Control copy, control paste. I'll pull that down here just to do my label. Gear. Did I assign? I haven't assigned, see? Got to do that. Make that gear. Alright. So now I've got my gear, I've got my RPM, I've got my lap time. I've got to put engine temp, fuel pressure and oil pressure in. Now I'm going to do it as a bar that runs across here, but I don't want numbers on there all the time. I only want to know things are wrong when they're wrong. So I want this to sort of fade into the background. So I'm going to have a bar that grows up here, and it'll go to red, and it'll show me numbers only when things are bad. So let's start that by taking this, and now I know that this bar is half the width of the shape that I draw. Now the screen itself is 800, so I want the whole width to be 1600. I'm going to go with a height of 90, and I want it to start at minus 400. So that'll give me a bar that's the full width. I'm not concerned about the tick marks or any of those sorts of things. Now what I want with this is it to grow at a certain time. Now I'm using this one for engine temp, so engine temp will be up to 120 degrees, let's say, but I want the background, this to grow as the background, and I'm going to start that from 0 up to 10 degrees. So I've configured that. Let's just check that went through. Yep, that's all good. And now I need to tell it that it's engine temp, and I need to set its colors. So I'm going to go from vertical shade from there through to black. So that's going to be my background that's going to fade up. Now what I'm doing is sort of like a nested thing where this will grow and then another one will grow over it at another time. So I copy this and paste it. And on this second one, I want to configure its ticks to be at 95 to 105. So in those temperatures, when it reaches that temperature, this bar will grow. And the difference is this bar will be red. Okay, so this is my engine temp. Now I want to have a label, so copy that, put it up here, rename it engine temp. Okay, so we've got engine temp. Now over here I want a number, a channel value, but I want it in a switch because I want it to only appear at certain times. So I draw my switch, insert a switch group, and then insert a channel value. Now this channel value is for engine temp. I want it to be 75 point. Yeah, that looks good. Go right aligned. Don't want any decimal points. Now this is the main reason I've chosen this, is that I can do this. So I can say I want engine temp greater than, now this is wiping up at 95, but I'm going to start this at 90. So the numbers, so I can select that number, go back to the switch group, pick the channel and move it to where you want it to be. Okay, so when it hits 90, that is going to come up. Okay, next we can copy all of that, paste it again, move all of that down. Now back here, this lot, I'm going to right click, group, create a group. This next one is going to be fuel pressure. So let's just start on that. Fuel pres. Okay. So we could actually put that in there too to label that. This is at the moment pointing to engine temp, both of them are. Control click can change the channel that they point to. Change it to fuel pressure. Okay. Now fuel pressure, I want it's in, I'm going to go up to say 350 kPa. So basically from 300 or thereabouts, that's where things start to go wrong. So on this bar, I'm going to configure its ticks to be at 295 to 305. So okay. And at the bottom, I'm going to configure that to stay the same, 0 to 10. That's all good. Okay. So we've got fuel pressure done. Let's check in here. It's channel needs to be fuel pressure, and we can remove this and add a new one which will be based on fuel pressure and greater than, let's go to 80. There's our fuel pressure. This was engine temp. Just need to type that in there. Engine temp. I'm going to move these below the dial after. I'm just making them up now. Okay, next I'm going to copy all of those, paste them above, make a group from these. This is fuel pres. Now oil pressure is the last one that I need to do, so I'm just going to take all of these, all of this, move it further down, about there, change this fuel pressure to oil pressure. That's good. Switch name, I'm going to change to oil pressure, switch group, channel, that needs to refer to oil pressure. We remove this, add. Now this is interesting because oil pressure is bad at one end and at the other, so we're going to say oil pressure less than, now we're talking kPa here, so I'm going to say less than 100. The text is on. So yeah, we're going to go less than say 120 actually. Give it a bit of room and add engine oil pressure greater than, let's say 770 kPa. Okay, so that number will come up at those times. We have our label. We've got two bars here. So they're both fuel pressure at the moment. They need to go to oil pressure. Now the top bar at the moment is 295. We're going to make this 795 to 805, so at that 800 kPa the red bar will come on. This is the grey bar. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it. So this grey bar, I want the grey bar to come on between 100, so I'm going to say 95 to 105. That's fine. And the last one, we want that to be on from 0 to 0. So I want it to automatically be red. Now these, should all point to engine oil pressure, which they're doing. So we can then take all of that, grouping, create a group, eng oil press. Okay, let's take all of those and put them lower than the dial. So this is our basic look. Now we get to do something that's a bit new, and it's simulate. First we have to put in our minimum and maximums. So here in our engine RPM we put 0 to 8,000. Fuel pressure 0 to 350 kPa. Engine oil pressure will go up to 1,000. Make sure you get the right number of zeros. Gear 0 to 6 will be fine. Engine temp 120 degrees. Lap time, let's go 300 seconds. Okay, let's go to simulate. Hit the play button, and this is validating the project, making sure that everything will work. Now straight away oil pressure is grey, so that's the wrong colour. I haven't changed it to the red, but let's look at the other things. So if I take engine RPM, this is what happens as I go up and down. That's fine. Fuel pressure, that grows. We get closer, numbers start, and red. Okay. So you could actually stop that. Something like there. Engine oil pressure. Okay, start to get a feeling of what's going on. I'm going to go engine temp. Oops, pull that across. And that starts to go bad at that. So I'm not happy with the faded ones for these, so I'm going to strengthen that, and I've got to change the one thing on the page here. So engine oil pressure, go to my bottom switch, click on my bar, and that should be red through to red, and I want to pick that colour like that colour, that, and engine temp. Okay, so I've got my basic page done. Now I've got a shift point of 6. Now that would be great for let's say gear 3 and up. Let's say copy this and paste. I could have a secondary page where I go into my dial and alter my shift point. So let's just have a look. Click on that, change this to say from 7,000. So you see that changes there. And then I could at the page level say if the gear is equal to 1 or the gear is equal to 2, it'll use this page. So it'll show that. And what else can I do? So I'm happy with that for my 2 pages. I'm going to do another page. I'm going to add a new page. This one here I'm going to do as a splash page. So I'm going to go with a red. Now my condition for this, I'm just going to do if you're in add gear is equal to 0, add engine RPM is less than 1,000. It's just going to go, and I'm going to make that an and. Okay, add my graphic, make it fit the page, take my border off, fit this to page, black to black, Okay, now I'll show you something in here. You'll notice that one of the conditions of the competition is that you have to use green ticked fonts. I'll show you here, for instance. I could use a non-ticked font and use, so I might do some text like that, put it in the middle, go up to say 100 point, and go with a font something like a Magneto. So that's a pretty crazy kind of font. Add another piece of text, an exclamation mark in Webdings, so 350 point, black, centered, semi-transparent, so you can see through it a bit. Yep, pull that underneath. And then I suppose my trademark, which is the faded shadows. Probably sick of watching me do already. Vertical shade, black, black, opaque. Back to the first one. Pull that back a bit. Something like that. Pull that up. So there you go, there's my splash screen. But I can't submit this because it's got other fonts. But what I can do, Tools, create a screenshot, put it out to my desktop. I'm going to call this Splash. Then I'm just going to basically delete these assets, import the image from my desktop, position it. There's my splash screen done. So there's my 3 screens. Now File, Save As, MoTeC Shield project. Then I do this. First page, Tools, Create Snapshot, page 1. Tools, Create Snapshot, page 2. Third page, Tools, Create Snapshot, page 3. Now there, I've basically done my file, so I can turn that off, go back to my web browser, enter. Once you've done all the things, when you have finished designing your submissions, which we've just done, including saving screenshots, which we've just done, please enter using this online form. So I just put my name, address, city, add all these things in, select race, supporting description. I might put in here page 1 to page 2 changes red line. Upload my DC project, upload page 1, upload page 2, upload page 3. If you want to get emails from us, you tick that and click upload. Okay, well that pretty much finalizes what I need to show you right now. So if you have some time, log in. You may just win yourself a wonderful C125 colour dash, and that finalises my webinar for today.